Welcome back, Kanto Crew, to another amusement video, and today we're going to do something kind of a little different and a little fun. And even though Burning Shadows is still about a month out from being released, it's never too early to start looking at the next set. And what we're going to do with that is, there's some GX cards that I have in mind that I would like to see in the next set. Now that Burning Shadows has pretty much been finalized and we know what we're getting in Burning Shadows, I figured it was time to kind of look at whatever the next set is going to be, and kind of take some guesses on cards I want to see. And remember, this is going to be mostly opinion, and any art I'm able to find on these is not owned by me, it's owned by the artists involved that created it, but it's kind of just there to visually put the idea in your head. And since we're talking about cards, I will be doing one pack opening, a Steam Siege XY opening at the end of the video, and periodically throughout, to keep your attention, I'll be giving away some code cards. So there's the first one for you, and there's a couple more to come throughout the video, so make sure you stay tuned. If this is your first time, welcome. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, leave it a like, and then make sure at the end you comment down below on cards that you want to see. But let's get it started with, and we're going to kind of do a countdown from ones I just kind of really want to see, think they should do, to cards that I really want to see in the next set. Starting with, at number 8, Midday Lycanroc form, GX. So we had the Midnight form, and it's a pretty cool card. It's pretty popular. It's relatively decent competitively, and I think you could really do a really cool pair-up that might be able to make it really competitive if you made the Midday form. Being able to have people maybe have 4 Lycanroc, you know, and mix and match Midday and Midnight with their Rockruffs, and you might be able to make a really fun deck competitively, and that's kind of where I went with this, is you already did Midnight. It's only fair that you put Midday form in there for all the people that bought the Moon video game that kind of want to use their version of Rockruff that they were able to evolve it into. And I think it would be a really fun card to use, and I think it would do a whole lot to really make Midnight Lycanroc, depending on how they set the card up, really competitive. Now the 7th card I really want to see that I think would be cool, because they do, I kind of did a sheet on all the cards they've done so far, how many from each generation they are, and they've been doing a lot of Generation 7. So the first generation, well, I guess second Generation 7 card, I think, in these 8 cards that we're going to be doing, is a Mimikyll GX. Mimikyll's become a really big fan favorite card, and I think you could really make a really cool looking card art-wise from Mimikyll, and it might be one of those GX cards that isn't necessarily the most playable, kind of like Turtonator was in this last set of Guardians Rising. It's powerful, and in the right deck it can do some damage, but no one's going to necessarily build a very competitive deck around it. It's more of a fun card to have, and I'm sure the full art would look just amazing, Mimikyll. So I think a Mimikyll card would be a really good one for the 7th card I really want to see in the next Pokemon expansion. Now the 6th card, they've also, Alolan Ninetales was relatively popular, and obviously really popular for me on my channel in this last set. And I think it'd be fun to do some more Alolan Kanto forms, starting with Alolan Raichu, an electric psychic type. Amazing. You put that in a GX card, also a card I think would look amazing with like full art and everything. I think having it surf, and you know, I think it already looks cool on the HOW card. I think Alolan Raichu has got to be one of the cards you got to put in the next set. It keeps the Kanto Gen 1 people happy, it keeps the Gen 7 people happy, it keeps the thing of showcasing these Alolan forms that are so cool that Pokemon did this generation. I think Alolan Raichu would be a great GX card. Alright, and at 5, I think another Alolan form that'd be really cool would be the Alolan Exeggutor. Get the big old tall neck, and you've never really had that card be powerful. For a card that in the video games and everything was a pretty powerful, formidable card or Pokemon to try to beat. And there's never really, to my knowledge, been a competitive version of this card that was like really could match what it was in like Generation 1 and 2 when you had to face one. So I think having an Execute card that like or Exeggutor card would be just really cool to have in the next set, and you could do so much fun stuff with it. And once again, a card that would just look great on a full art holographic card. So that's where I'm putting it at number 5. I think that an Exeggutor would look awesome in a GX card. Now moving on to number 4, we have our first Generation 6 Pokemon, And one of my favorites, the evolved form of Pancham, would be Pangoro. I think a Pangoro GX card would be mean. You get that dark typing in there, which there hasn't been too many dark types in the GX cards. I mean, we're going to have a lot, it looks like, in the new Burning Shadows set, but not really in Guardians Rising or Sun and Moon, other than Umbreon was one, and it was really, really popular. And I think maybe it'll be burned out by this point, but I think a Pangoro card would be totally awesome. Once again, I would be so excited to see the ability and the attacks they'd put together on that GX card and HP, and I think a Pangoro GX card would be really, really cool. Alright, number 3, the Silval card, the evolved form of type Null. It's a very Alolan, kind of pseudo-legendary, you could say, in the fact that, you know, it's very rare to come upon, and it's very mysterious throughout the game on what it is, and when you finally find it, you know, I think that would be a really cool card to have that would be very unique to the set, because 1, it hasn't had a card yet, and 2, it probably wouldn't have one after Sun and Moon. I mean, there's no real reason to keep the card kind of alive, like some of these, you know, Pokemon like this from other generations. Once their generation phased out, maybe get thrown up in some throwback stuff, but I think this would be a really cool GX card to give credit to a Pokemon that I don't think gets enough credit for being one of the cooler ones of Generation 7. I think this would be a great way to kind of show our respect to that and give it some love. I think a Silval GX card would look really cool, and they could do so much fun stuff with it. Now we're getting into the big ones. Here we're down to the final 2. Number 2, it's going to be a super fan favorite, Lucario GX. Lucario is one of probably most people's most people would consider it a top 10 card of all the generations, or top 10 Pokemon, and I think putting it on a card would be really cool. And once again, it's a card that doesn't necessarily have a really good competitive card yet, but for a fan favorite that really deserves a competitive card. So I think Lucario, you could do fighting type, you might be able to get the psychic with the whole aura thing. I mean, it kind of depends on how the balance they want to set from the decks, or the set would be, but you could do so much with a Lucario, and people would go crazy for Lucario GX. Now, before we start the honorable mentions, I figured I would share one more code card for you guys, and this one was a white code, so these are all from the birthday booster box, well, most of them. So if you don't get that, obviously, I'll probably put them in the description, hush. Yeah, so honorable mentions, before we get to number 1, I had Blastoise and Venusaur, because if you're going to give Charizard one in Burning Shadows, you got to give those guys some love, right? So throw them in, give them a little bit of love. Blastoise and Venusaur I did consider putting on the list. Also, I think a Tentacruel would be a really cool GX card, but I didn't want to overload it with a lot of Generation 1 Pokemon, because it doesn't seem like that's really what they're trying to do with these GX cards yet. I'm sure once more and more start getting released, then yeah, they'll probably start looking more Gen 1. But with Tauros, Lapras, you already have some Gen 1s. I think it was good to kind of leave them off the list. So the other ones is you have Umbreon, you have Sylveon, you have Espeon. Glaceon and Leafeon would make sense. They're kind of the next generation down. You could add them both into the same set at the same time, which is why they didn't make this list. It's just that I really like the ones I had, and there's not really a lot I would take off this list. So I feel like those two would be two you'd have to put in together, and that's why they didn't make this list. Now, number 1, the GX card I would be the most excited if they announced in the next set, and the one I most want to see, Arcanine. An Arcanine GX, which is kind of the reason why we left Blastoise and Venusaur and Tentacruel off the list, was I'm not going to have 1 and 2 both be Kanto Pokemon. However, Growlithe is probably personally my favorite Pokemon. And obviously Arcanine is a boss if you play it in the games. It's still competitive to the day, but once again has never really been competitive in the card game. And it's such a cool Pokemon. It's a loyal Pokemon. It evolved from one of the coolest Pokemon. Everyone's looking for an excuse to play a Growlithe in their deck. Give them the excuse. How about be able to get a Arcanine GX, and I think it would be so cool to have that. And you get another Fire GX, which they seem to do in just about every set. So it would be the only Fire in this set. That's my 2 cents. But I think it's time for a little quick pack opening for you guys. Get you your last code. While I open this, I'd like to remind you guys, if you liked any of these cards, make sure you let me know down in the comment section below which ones you liked, which ones you didn't. Also, I think it would be really cool if you guys comment some of the cards you guys like. You know, I'm never afraid of sharing ideas, and, oh, that's right, we're sharing, while we're sharing, I'm sharing codes while you share ideas on cards you want to see and what you thought about mine. Don't worry about being honest or, you know, hurting my feelings, because, I don't know, it's all fun and games here, right? Alright, let's get started. So we got our Klefki, an Armor Fossil Sheldon, a Flappy, a Fletchling, a Yarma, Meryl, Sneasel, Litleo, Larvesta, and Yan Mega. So nothing big there in the pack, but I've decided, I do think I'm just going to do a pack opening to end every video. Instead of doing less or more opening videos, just end the video with a pack opening and a salute to you guys. Make sure, like I said, if it's your first time to the channel, please hit the red subscribe button because it's free and you get more of me and more Pokemon and more codes if you play the online TCG, which I know some of you are the only reason you watch, but I'll take it. I love having conversations with the few of you that do comment. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. Leave it a like, and yeah, see you guys next time.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test, to train them is my cause.